Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. And you know, I think I might have bitten off slightly more than I can chew with this 500,000 subscriber video contest, because you're sending the videos in faster than I can watch them. I started watching the videos a couple of days ago. There were 750 videos for me to watch. I managed to get that down to just under 600. Came back a day later, there were 950 videos sitting there waiting for me to watch. I managed to get that down to about 900. Came back the next day, 1,050. 1,050. You're sending them in faster than I can watch. I'm just glad that the deadline's, well, yesterday, if you're watching this video on the day that it came out. But it occurred to me that I'd spent the entire day watching your videos and I still hadn't gotten around to actually doing this video, ready for Tuesday. So here it is. The one thing I will say is that, well, I hope you understand that you're going to have to start getting used to, in the immediate future at least, until I can get through all the videos that you guys have submitted, you're going to have to start getting used to some slightly shorter than average regular daily video uploads, because, well, there are only so many hours in a day, and I'm spending most of them looking at the videos that you guys have sent in and picking winners. And I really do want to get the winners nominated as soon as possible, so that means I'm going to be spending more time actually watching the videos in order to get through them all as quickly as possible, and less time available to dedicate to actually doing the daily video upload. So expect to see some slightly shorter than average videos, at least until the contest has been decided. Bearing that in mind, today's video is, well, this is the T-32 Tier 8 American heavy tank. It's being driven by Icelord 15 in a Tier 8 battle here on the Arctic map. And it's been a long time since I've seen a T-32 driven as aggressively as this. Although, bearing in mind the advantages of the T-32, particularly in a Tier 8 game, you kind of have to. Because, well, it's the turret front of this tank. It's 298mm of armour. There are Tier 10 tank destroyers that wouldn't be able to penetrate the front of the turret of this tank. It's kind of like the T-29 at Tier 7, which I think is probably the best Tier 7 heavy tank in the game. But on crack. The one downside is the fact that it has exactly the same gun as the T-29. And while that's a pretty nice gun, the 105mm on the T-29 at Tier 7, T-32 is not a Tier 7 heavy tank, and it faces Tier 10s. It's got bad accuracy, 0.41. It's got mediocre penetration, 198mm. But that just means that this is a brawling heavy tank. It's an assault tank. Front towards the enemy, get into a hold down position like this, which was why Icelord was so aggressive early on and just powered down the side of the old corner of fail here on Arctic. It was so he could get it into this spot and work that fantastic trademark American gun depression from this spot. Provided he can get here quickly, once he's dealt with a threat to the flank, there is nothing on the enemy team other than the artillery that can touch him. By contrast, you can see how far forward that IS-3 has to drive in order to get up over that ridge and point his BL-9 gun at the enemy tanks, and you can see how much damage he's taken in the process. Icelord, well, he doesn't have to push with the rest of the tanks, but he's going to do it anyway, which is unusual because, well, most T-32 drivers with plenty of targets to shoot at and a hold down position, they wouldn't be as aggressive as this, but Icelord's getting stuck right in. In fact, this is almost a heavy tank wolf pack. Icelord and the T-32 and the IS-3. Both of them powerful guns, pretty mobile for heavy tanks, strong frontal armour, but with the T-32 all that armour's in the turret. And look at that shot, 0.41 accuracy, my fat arse. Again, they need to deal with the threat to the flank first before pushing on that lurver over there, and, well, advancing up to this position means he can get hulled down again. And watch this shot, look at this. Yeah, there's your 0.41 accuracy for you. Now, he wants to advance on that lurver up ahead, but there's a spare Panzer 1C on the ridge line, and that guy's got a pretty nasty auto-loading 90mm gun. But watch what this lurver does. Instead of pulling back behind the rock and turning his gun on Icelord, and turning this into a one-on-one fight that he might be able to win, he completely ignores Icelord and allows him to get around his flank. Icelord takes one bounce from the Sperrpanzer, gets around the side of the lurver, who still hasn't had his gun pointed in the right direction, and now he's killed the lurver and he's got the wreck of this Japanese super heavy between himself and the Sperrpanzer 1C. It may just be a light tank, but you do have to respect that 90mm autoloader. But from here, thanks to the wreck of that Japanese tank, he's given this guy absolutely nothing that he can penetrate, and if he's just going to sit there, he's going to die. So, 9 tanks left. You've got to be asking yourself right now, what are those two Tier 8 mediums going to be doing? Ice Lord and the IS-3 and the Hellcat are closing in on the enemy artillery. There he is. So, the enemy team are aware that their cap's about to be overrun. Friendly artillery is equally isolated. Are those two Tier 8 mediums on the enemy team going to be coming back to defend the cap as the IS-3 puts one into the artillery and the artillery shotguns the IS-3 and Ice Lord donks the shot? Artillery guns the engine, races forward, realises that Ice Lord's going for the ram, tries to reverse and avoid it, but he's just too cumbersome and Ice Lord claims his 7th kill. And then we find out where the two enemy Tier 8 mediums went as the Panther 88 starts taking pot shots at the Hellcat in the cap circle and the TVP pops out of nowhere and ambushes the IS-3. The Hellcat doesn't really seem to be able to make his mind up which way he wants to go. He's trying to charge down the TVP, but the TVP has nothing else to shoot at as the IS-3 backed off around the corner. Hellcat's down. Meanwhile, the enemy AMX-12T has found the friendly artillery, so they're all going to die. The IS-3 is stuck in the open with no cover. He's got a TVP in front of him and a Panther 88 behind him, so he's doomed as well. And that AMX-12T is about to finish off the last friendly artillery. Ice Lord is now the last tank left alive on his team, but he's hulled down in a T-32. And if that Panther 88 wants to take the Pepsi challenge against 298mm of turret armour in a hull-down American heavy tank, well, more fool him. That just leaves the TVP, but the question here is, what's the AMX-12T doing? He's not capping. So Ice Lord moves forward into the cap and takes cover behind the wreck of the Hellcat. Now, if the 12T had started capping at the same time as Ice Lord, all that TVP has to do is hit Ice Lord once, reset the cap, and the enemy team have won. Now bear in mind, I have the advantage of doing the commentary to this replay after having already watched the results, so I know exactly what that AMX-12T is doing, but that means that the TVP over there also knows exactly what the 12T is doing, so why he takes that risk, I have absolutely no idea. All he had to do was hide behind that rock, wait for the 12T to appear, and then when Ice Lord turned to engage the 12T, he could have popped out and taken some shots with relative impunity, but he just didn't have the patience. He was desperate for the kill, and it cost him his tank. Now, Ice Lord cannot afford to leave the cap circle here. If he was to pull back and get himself into that hold down position again, he'd be in a better tactical situation, but if the 12T then suddenly started capping, there's no way he'd be able to get back and reset in time, so instead he nudges the wreck of the Hellcat into a position where he can hopefully use it to cover against attack from both sides, and that's where the AMX-12T popped up from. Scores a hit on the 12T. The 12T does manage to reset the cap without doing any actual damage with his first shot. The second shot does do some damage. Of course, the 12T can't afford to take another hit now either. So the AMX has got two choices here. He can either play peekaboo around the side of this rock right in front of the T-32's 105mm gun, with a 50-50 chance that no matter which side of the rock he pops up on, Ice Lord's going to have the gun pointed at him and is going to end him in one hit. Or, because there are 7.5 minutes of this game left, plenty of time for him to pull back, drive halfway around the map if he has to, because he's certainly fast enough to do that, and instead pop up on Ice Lord's flank and get 2 or 3 shots into him with that rapid firing 75mm all loader. Which of those two choices do you think the AMX-12T is going to go for? Wait for it. There he is. Having said that, he's not being particularly stupid about it. He's trying to bait Ice Lord into taking the shot by just nosing out and then pulling back, hoping that Ice Lord's going to snapshot and miss, and then he can pop out and possibly score 2 or 3 hits with that rapid fire in 75mm. But Ice Lord, well, he's got all the time in the world as well. He's got absolutely no reason to rush, and the AMX-12T tries to bait him once too often. He takes the shot, and he wins the game. So, a very nicely played game there from Ice Lord in the T-32 on the Arctic map. He was aggressive when he needed to be, which is not something that is typical of T-32 drivers. That ridiculously troll turret and great gun depression tends to persuade T-32 drivers to normally find those hold down positions and just camp in them for the whole match, but Ice Lord didn't do it. He was aggressive at the start. He pushed when he needed to push, and he was cautious when he needed to be cautious, and he came away from it with an Ace Tanker badge, a Pools medal, high caliber and Top Gun with 10 kills and 5,600 damage done. But we're not quite finished, because it wouldn't be a game of World of Tanks if there wasn't some drama in chat. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but roughly around about the time when Icelord was dealing with the TVP, the T54 Mod 1 driver on the enemy team was complaining about the AMX-12T and demanding that everybody report him as a bot. Which is quite ironic, because at that point the AMX-12T had just slaughtered all of the artillery on Icelord's team, therefore getting double the number of kills that the T54 Mod 1 had secured so far in this game, and finished the match with 2 medals to his name and double the experience of the T54 Mod 1 player. If that AMX-12T was running a bot program, and let's just say for the sake of the argument that he was, I recommend that the T54 Mod 1 find out what the program was, download it and install it, because it could probably teach him a thing or two. Well, I hope you enjoyed my video for the day. Now I have to get back to watching 1075 of yours. This could take some time, but I'm sure it's going to be worth it. That's it, folks. Take care, have fun, and I'll catch you next time.